Hello and welcome to Laurice's Kitchen. It's time for more sourdough. Today I'm putting together another sourdough bread recipe. This is a 24-hour sourdough with an 18-hour cold soak in the fridge. We're also not going to be using any commercial yeast. Let's see what we're going to need. Just like before, we'll start with 1 cup of very active sourdough starter. We'll also be stirring in 2 teaspoons of salt and a tablespoon of sweetener, and lately I've been using the corn syrup. We'll also need 1 1/4 cups of cool water. Now normally I would stir in about 2 tablespoons of wheat gluten, but I ran out, so this particular recipe isn't going to have any. If you've got it though, do use it. Finally, we'll be stirring in just a little bit more than 3 cups of all-purpose flour. Let's put this dough together. Before we scoop out our cup of sourdough, we do need to stir it down. This has a lot of air bubbles in it. And we add in our 2 teaspoons of salt and our tablespoon of sugar. Now, I never measure this. And we're going to add our water and then whisk this all together. All right, if you have wheat gluten, add it now and whisk it in. All right, now we're adding in our 3 cups of flour. Now, I do not sift my flour beforehand, but I do fluff and scoop. My cups tend to be about 140 grams apiece. And this last one's a bit rounded. We may need to add in just a little bit more. Now we're just going to stir this up by hand. If you can mix all the flour in by hand, which it looks like I'm going to be able to, you're going to need a little bit more. This will produce a very loose loaf. Okay, let me add in another 1/4 cup or so. It's probably about 1/3. We're going to continue to mix. Okay, you can see that we can't quite get all of the flour mixed in here. This is perfect. We need to let this sit for 15 minutes. I'm just covering this to keep the cat hair and dust out. We're kneading this on low for about 3 or 4 minutes, just until it starts to pull away from the side of the bowl. Okay, you can see this really doesn't look anything like my normal bread doughs. We're going to go ahead and scrape this out into its container. Okay, I have my 4-liter container here. I'm going to spray this completely with nonstick cooking spray. And then we're just going to scrape this down into the container. We're just covering this lightly with a lid. We don't want to seal it, so if your lid has a seal, just use a plate or just put it on there without the seal. This is going to sit on the countertop for 2 hours. Then it's headed into the refrigerator for its 18-hour overnight cold soak. This has been on the counter for 2 hours at room temperature, and you can see it is starting to rise. This is going in the refrigerator for 18 hours. Now we just don't want to put it in the coldest spot. Now I have forgotten to let it sit out on the counter for 2 hours. It doesn't rise as well in the refrigerator, but if you leave it out the following day for several more hours, it will rise properly. This has been refrigerating overnight. We're just going to let it sit out on the countertop for about 4 hours to come to room temperature. This dough has been sitting on the counter for about 3 hours. It's still a little cold, but I do need to punch it down. I have my parchment paper over my square pan. I'm just going to add a little bit of brown rice flour to this parchment paper so that nothing sticks. And I've got my dough. It has doubled, you can see that. We're going to get it out of this container and then it's going on this pan. Okay, I'm just going to fold it over a couple of times. It is so sticky, okay? All right, straighten this out. Okay, now I'm just adding a little bit more rice flour to the top. We need to let this rise until it's nice and puffy, probably for about 45 minutes. During all this time though, my oven is preheating to 450 degrees, and I do have my big Dutch oven in there heating up with it. I'm getting ready to slice this into my pumpkin shape, and I'll be using a straight razor. Now this is kind of an abstract pumpkin shape. And here's the top. I cut this sideways because it's easier to cut. Now can you see the pumpkin shape? But these aren't the only shapes you can cut. Thank you for visiting Laurice's Kitchen. If you enjoyed this video, give the like button a click and don't forget to leave a comment. We're always happy to hear from you. If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel and don't keep us a secret. Share our videos with your friends and family. You can follow us on Facebook for behind-the-scenes pics and videos, and on Twitter for upcoming videos and the random cat picture.